What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cab show. Me growing up in Indiana, I had to be an Indiana Pacers fan. But really, what got into the Indiana Pacers since their downfall? And I do think their downfall was in 2005. Obviously, what happened at the Malice at the Palace. But let's rewind the clock when they drafted Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller, what a career in Indiana. He's one of the most iconic Indiana players to ever play, right, with Indiana. But my favorite player is definitely Jermaine O'Neal. Shout out to Jermaine O'Neal. Obviously, I feel like, later in his career, he didn't really pan out as I thought he would. But to me, he's a Hall of Famer, 100%. What Jermaine O'Neal has done just for Indiana alone is amazing. Spending 8 years of his career in Indiana, it was awesome. But what was the downfall for the Indiana Pacers? Obviously, in 2000, they lost to the NBA Finals to the Los Angeles Lakers. Reggie Miller played his heart out, but they lost, I think it was 5 games. And then, years later, 2004, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals in Game 6 versus the Detroit Pistons, right? And it's tied up with like 3 minutes to go. We have Ron Artest. Really, the Indiana Pacers had all the right pieces. Obviously, they didn't have Steven Jackson in 2004 at the time, but, Ron Artest made a key bad foul. It was a flagrant one at the time, and really, that was really the momentum-changing shift of that series. And we have to understand the Pacers were down 3-2, Game 6 at Malice at the Palace, and we lost that game by like 5 or 6 points. And what happens next? The Detroit Pistons went on to win the NBA Finals in 2004. And the Detroit Pistons had a great team. Obviously, Chauncey Billups, won MVP of the 2004 NBA Finals. One of the best point guards basketball's ever seen. He's so smart and really wasn't super athletic. Chauncey Billups wasn't that guy to, blow by you every time. No, Chauncey Billups was a smart point guard. He would pull up on you. Yes, he would blow by you as well, but he would make the right play, the right pass, whatever the team needed. That's what Chauncey Billups did. Also, they have Richard Hamilton, another great shooter. Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace, one of my favorite players. Rasheed was a goon. And then obviously Ben Wallace. But the Pacers losing in 2004 really was building them up. They signed Steven Jackson, and really that was their missing piece. In 2005, they had high expectations. They were going to win a championship. That was their mindset. And honestly, they had the talent to. Jermaine O'Neal for, a 6-time NBA All-Star from 2002 to 2007, dude. Over 13,000 career points, Jermaine O'Neal. 7,261 rebounds. 1,820 blocks in his career. So, amazing career, Jermaine O'Neal. Hats off to you, my favorite Indiana Pacer ever. People look at me like I'm ignorant. Obviously, everybody's is Reggie Miller besides me, but shout out to Jermaine O'Neal. But, obviously, when we signed Ron Artest, he's a little goofy, right? A little loose-headed, but he was a killer. He would die for you. And I think every coach in America and also the world should want to coach a guy like Ron Artest. Why? Because he's going to dive on the floor. He's going to go all in every play, dude. He's going to do it all. He'll get a bloody nose. He doesn't care. He's going to go. He's going to run. He's going to spray. He's going to go 100%. There's nothing half-ass about Ron Artest. That's what I love about it, dude. There's nothing half-ass about it. So he's going to go all in on it, dude. And Ron Artest, he won an NBA championship in 2010, dude, with the Los Angeles Lakers with Kobe Bryant. Ron Artest hit a big 3 late game in that finals in Game 7 to really prevail for the Lakers. So it's crazy, right? And obviously Steven Jackson, he won an NBA Finals early in his career in 2003 with the San Antonio Spurs. And Steven Jackson had a great career. Played a long time in the NBA. I love Steven Jackson. I wish they would have really kept this team. And obviously Reggie Miller's last year was 2005, so they knew that. Reggie Miller's whole career with Indiana, whole 18 years there, 2,560 career threes. That's crazy, dude. Over 2,500 career threes. That is insane to me. Reggie Miller, obviously in a lot of people's top 10, he's definitely in my top 50. But look, I get a lot of hate for it. Look, dude, Reggie Miller was a good player, but he just wasn't my type of player. Just shoot threes, and really beg for calls, stuff like that. But no disrespect to the great Reggie Miller. He's a legend for Indiana Pacers. I salute him. But is he my favorite? Absolutely not. But what was the downfall? It was obviously what took place at Malice at the Palace in 2005. late 2004. And to me, this was really the downfall for the Pacers. This was at the beginning of the season, and this really hurt, man. And this was one of the things I was like, how is this going to happen, dude? How? And what's crazy, we fast forward, a year later, the Detroit Pistons are playing in the NBA Finals in 2005, and they lose in 7 games to the San Antonio Spurs. There are a couple plays from repeating. That's crazy, right? And they repeated back with Isaiah Thomas, okay? Back in the day. So history repeats itself in a way. So the Detroit Pistons were right there, but Mouse at the Palace really affected the Indiana Pacers. And we saw it. And really what started it, and I think it was dealing with Ben Wallace and Ron Artest. We have to understand, Ben Wallace, he's a triple OG, dude. He's one of the best that we've ever seen, dude. He's a 4-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, 2002, 2004, 2005, and 2006. He was a big guy, and I'm telling you what, he was fearless. He played fearless, and he played with heart. He's a 4-time NBA All-Star, and he's a 2004 NBA champion. So, they're all champions. Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups. Yeah, all those guys, all champions, dude. They've been through it. So, to me, Ron Artest, he was balling out. They played him in a regular season game at the beginning of the season at Mouse at the Palace. And really what happened, and I do think Indiana Pacers' weakness was their point guard play, was with Jamal Tinsley. One of the most overrated point guards I've ever seen play the game. And a lot of Indiana people are like, dude, Jamal Tinsley was great. No, he was slow. Yes, he made a couple good passes here, a couple good shots, but, IQ-wise, Jamal Tinsley was not a point guard. And I think that was the Indiana Pacers' weakness in the early 2000s, their point guard play. If they had a great point guard, a leader, a great IQ of the game, obviously, say they had Chauncey Billups to fill in the spot, that'd be crazy, or like Tony Parker, somebody, a great point guard to fill in that spot. The Pacers would have won easily. They wouldn't have been in that situation because Jamal Tinsley, he goes up to Ron Artest late in this game, in the regular season game, when the Pacers are playing Detroit Pistons, and he said, hey, you know what? Hey, you are good to foul. You can go get your foul now. That's what he told Ron Artest. And it's like, you don't need to tell Ron Artest something loose to, fuel the fire already. The fire's already burning. He just threw more gas on it. Jamal Tinsley. We're talking about the point guard. We're talking about the leader of the basketball team. Telling Ron Artest that, hey, you could go get your hard foul now. They're already plotting this out because Ben Wallace made a hard foul on Ron Artest in 2004. In the Eastern Conference Finals. Okay? To win that. And to me, it adds up, right? It's fuel to the fire. But Jamal Tinsley, he was washed up. I wasn't a big fan. I really thought like I said, their point guard game was weak. I really, truly believe that, dude. I just think if the Pacers had a solid point guard, and Jamal Tinsley, to me, was not a solid point guard, dude. He looked fat, he looked out of shape, and he looked slow. That's a recipe for disaster. But when your point guard tells Ron Artest, hey, you can go get your foul now on Ben Wallace, it's like, what are you talking about, bro? You guys are up 15 in a regular season game against the defending champions, okay? You guys are going to see them in the playoffs, and you're telling him that? You're an idiot, Jamal Tinsley. You are an idiot, okay? Point blank, period. But, then Ron Artest and Steven Jackson's guarding Ben Wallace, and he even said, look, I'm just going to let him go. We already got the game in the bag, okay? But Ron Artest said, no, I'm going to foul Ben Wallace really hard. And what they didn't know is Ben Wallace's brother died recently back right around Mouse of the Palace time. Okay, so Ben Wallace already had that fuel. He was already ready to go. So when Ron Artest made a hard foul on Ben Wallace where he could have just let him get let him get it, dude. There's like 40 seconds left in the game. You guys are up 10 plus points, dude. Just let him get the bucket, okay? But Ron Artest said, no, I'm going to foul him hard. So he fouls him hard. Then what happens next is history, dude. Ben Wallace pushes him, and really Ben Wallace lost his control. He's the one that really fueled the fire to this. Not just Jamal Tinsley with his words. It was Ben Wallace throwing his headbands, throwing his wristbands in the crowd, saying F this, F that. Really was one to beat up Ron Artest. And if there wasn't players backing up, he would have swung on Ron Artest, probably knocked Ron Artest out. Let's be honest here. Ben Wallace is a big dude, okay? He's a big guy. So he starts throwing, and what happens? The fans start throwing shit. They throw something at Ron Artest. Ron Artest runs in the stands and punches the guy who doesn't even throw the cup at him. And then it just goes out of all-out brawl. And to me, I'm not taking sides here, but I think, the players really got screwed in this situation where, well, let's look at the fans' perspective, dude. They're throwing beer at them, popcorn, everything. They're throwing everything at these players, dude. What do they get? What do the fans get out of this? Maybe a slap on the wrist? What did the players get? Well, Jermaine O'Neal got a 25-game suspension. Right off the gate. And this is like 10 games into the regular season. 25 games. They give Ron Artest rest of the season, dude. Until playoffs, dude. This is crazy. And they give Steven Jackson a 30-game suspension. That, to me, I do believe the league really took this too much. I think the league should have looked at the tape a little bit more and said, you know what, we're going to give these players 20-game suspension and we're going to fine them. 20 games, not quite halfway, but it's significant. But the Pacers could still get back into the playoff mix later on in the season where they're not going to be affected by it, right? But over a 30-game suspension, dude, you lose it, man. And I really feel sorry for Reggie Miller. And at that time, at Malice of the Palace, he wasn't even playing then. I think he was hurt, maybe serving a suspension, one of the two. I think he was hurt at the time. And so he wasn't even playing, dude. And at the time, dude, there was only like 3 cops there in the heat of the moment, dude. And these fans are going crazy. So I think, what happened then, dude, I just feel like it was just too out of control. And I do feel like, Jermaine O'Neal's punch, yes, that soccer punch was definitely out of the zone. But Ron Artest, there's a fan that squared up against Ron Artest and was going to punch him. Then Ron Artest punched him back. The judge looked at it. They all looked at it and said, that was self-defense. A fan's coming up on you to throw a punch at you and you're a basketball player, professional. What are you going to do? You know what I'm saying? Your life right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody's going to throw a punch at you, so you got to go in self-defense. So I kind of felt Ron Artest, but really the fuel was definitely Ben Wallace and really just going crazy. And then all of a sudden, a fan just does some stupid shit and hits Ron Artest, and that's really what fuels it, dude. And I feel bad for Jermaine O'Neal. They're throwing everything at him. And Jermaine O'Neal was one of the last guys off the court, okay? And they're dumping popcorn, everything on him, dude. Treating them like animals. So I do think, a lot of the big problems were definitely the fans. I'm not going to blame it all on the fans. It was definitely some of the players, too. It was a mix. But I do think the suspensions was definitely way too much, dude. Nowadays, they would just fine you. Yes, they would give you suspension games. But I feel like they would take out more of the check. And they did that. They took out millions out of these guys' checks, okay, from this. Let's not get it twisted, but this was the downfall of the Pacers, man. They were going to win that year. And my whole thing is like, dude, if I'm a coach then and I understood the fuel, everything with a minute to go, call a timeout, put the subs in, dude. Why are the starters even in this game right now with 50-some seconds left? You guys already won the game here, dude. We're talking about the Indiana Pacers, and, dude, they had the talent. They had the talent, the chemistry to run deep and go to the finals in 2005, and they probably would have matched up with the San Antonio Spurs, and that would have been an epic finals. Obviously, I think San Antonio would have been a little bit favorite, just because, like I said, the Pacers point guard play. Jamal Tinsley was not a good point guard, dude. I mean, anybody that understands the game of basketball would say Jamal Tinsley was an average at best point guard. Average. He's coming off the bench. Maybe a third string point guard off the bench, dude. Like a D-League guy. Yeah, seriously, Jamal Tinsley was not all that. But to me, they just went crazy, dude. It was kamikaze. It was literally the Indiana Pacers versus 30,000 people. Even some of the cops, man, it was just insane to me. But, at the end of the day, I feel like the cool, right? You just have to, if you lose your temper, we saw what happened, right? When you lose your cool, when you go crazy, when you just that flip switch. And that's happened to me before, when that flip switches, right? When all of a sudden, somebody just flips that switch where you just go crazy, right? You just lose it. You go mad. You're a mad dog. You don't care the consequences. You just go crazy. Heat of the moment. And that's really what happened here. And there was no reason this should have happened, dude. There's no reason this starter should have been in the game. All this could have been avoided, dude, off a couple of situations. But, it happened for a reason. And I feel like it affected Detroit Pistons well. If this brawl didn't, happen, yes, I do believe the Pacers would have had a better shot, 100%. I do believe they could have won. But let's say, the defending champions, Detroit Pistons, they could have repeated easily. They could have beat the Spurs in 5 games. And I feel like that affected both teams, dude, significantly. 100%. We saw Larry Brown, like, talking to the people, like, what's going on? Like, stop this. Larry Brown, a Hall of Fame coach, won an NCAA championship, college basketball, and won an NBA title in NBA. Okay? So he knows what he's talking about. So he's over here thinking, wow, we just lost it, dude. We just lost our minds here. But Ron Artest, and a lot of beef dealing with Ron Artest, the way he handled things, right? He kind of just went his own way after that. And that was really sad. After 2005, it was just like Ron Artest, man, he gave you it all, right? But I just feel like he didn't handle it right with his teammates and his brothers. Kind of let them hanging. And he said that in a post-game interview back in 2010 when he won the NBA Finals with the Lakers. He said, man, I owe some of this to my Indiana teammates, man. Like, he gave up on them a little bit, right? I really, truly believe that, Ron Artest does kind of regret some of the situations he handled when he was in Indiana. And Steven Jackson, he did great. And I think, they kind of butted heads in a way. Ron Artest and Steven Jackson, I just feel like if this Malice at the Palace would have never happened, it was crazy. I actually saw it live. I was watching it with my dad eating Cheez-Its, dude. I was a little kid that eating Cheez-Its, and I was just like, dude, this cannot be happening. We thought it was like, dude, we didn't know what was going on, dude. At the first, I was like, this is fake. It's staged, whatever. Then I was like, no, this is real, okay? Once I saw Ron Artest run up in the stands and throw the punch at the dude, he didn't even throw the bottle at him. It was one of them things, and they interviewed the guy who threw the real bottle at him, and he was like, oh, I was relieved. I should have tripped Ron Artest knowing this. And I'm just like, really, dude? And look at that. That's the mindset of the fans. They don't care, dude. They don't get as much punishment as the players would. Okay, so they're up there throwing punches too. We saw Ron Artest get hit a couple times. That's just the way it is, man. So I feel like knowing the situation, dude. But, Detroit was no easy pushover, dude. They were champions. Rasheed Wallace, he would get teed up. Top 5 teed up ever in the NBA history, dude. Rasheed Wallace don't take no shit, dude. He really doesn't. Shout out to Rasheed Wallace, man. He played with passion. I love that, dude. Tayshaun Prince, dude, before he even came into the league, he couldn't even bench the bar. And he made it in the league. He was super skinny, but he made it, dude. Rip Hamilton. Wear the mask. It was amazing, dude. Rip was awesome. But, my favorite Detroit was either Ben Wallace or definitely Chauncey Billups. I thought Chauncey Billups was a great point guard. He was day and night better. Better than Jamal Tinsley, dude. I wish the Indiana Pacers would have had Chauncey Billups, dude. We definitely would have won in 2005. No doubt about it, dude. Or maybe even later on in years. But I just think, dude, the way the Pacers, that was their downfall. It really was. It was the Malice at the Palace, and really, ever since then, where have the Indiana Pacers gone? Yes, I understand back in 2013-14, with Paul George and those guys, they were great, but, they ran into LeBron and the Heat, but at the end of the day, where have the Pacers gone since Malice at the Palace? They haven't really done much. 2004, like I said, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pistons, and they kind of lost their cool there. I'm not going to put it all on Ron Artest, but there's a couple plays away from going to the NBA Finals that year and playing the Lakers, dude. For real. And we saw the Lakers, they were favored, dude. They were supposed to beat the Detroit Pistons, and they lost to them in 5 games. Okay, so it was one of them things where Detroit was no pushover. Detroit, same thing. They were a couple plays away from really repeating, going back to back. Like, that's unheard of, to go back to back. I mean, even a three-peat like we see in the Lakers in the early 2000s. But, the Pistons had that mentality, dude. They had the coach. They had the players to do it, dude. And I think Ben Wallace, I think, obviously Chauncey Billups was the X factor with the Detroit Pistons. The point guard play, the leader of the team. He was the difference maker there. And that's really what prevailed them to win in 2004. And then obviously, what happened there, it was a downfall. And then those suspensions really screwed the Pacers that year. And really going into 2005 late season, it just, they weren't the same anymore. They weren't. They were defeated. And I really think, Jermaine O'Neal, I just thought, he did that sucker punch. That was bad. But at the end of the day, he's defended himself, and that was a cheap shot. I'll give him that, okay? Jermaine O'Neal, I feel like if he didn't sucker punch that guy, I really believe they would have not gave him 25-game suspension. They would have said, you know what, maybe a 10-game, whatever. I just think if Jermaine O'Neal never would have got suspended here, this could be a completely different scenario. The Indiana Pacers could have won in 2005. They could have beat the San Antonio Spurs then, but, woulda, shoulda, coulda, whatever. And what if? We could always say that. We could always speculate and say this, that, but, at the end of the day, the Pacers have to learn from that. But, present day in 2021, where are the Pacers at now? You know what I'm saying? And it's really sad to me, the way they handled that whole situation. But, letting Jermaine O'Neal go in 08, I just think, I don't know. I look back at it and I just, obviously it was an iconic scenario, right? Iconic not in a good way. It was a bad way. But at the end of the day, both clubs, really got deflated from it. Detroit lost in the finals and they haven't been back since, dude. So I think both teams really took a bad effect on it. But did the commissioner really put down the bad suspensions? I do. I think they could have been lighter suspensions and more pay. And I think the players would have agreed on that. Yeah, take out more money and less games, and let's get that. We won a championship. I don't care if I get fined $5 million. That's fine. I'm making $20 million. What's $5 million? You know what I'm saying? But, hats off to Jermaine O'Neal, Ron Artest, those guys, Reggie Miller, and obviously the champion Detroit Pistons. But, looking back at it, man, the Pacers have not been the same. But I hope the Pacers one day will make it back to the NBA Finals and become NBA champions, baby. Do it for the state of Indiana, the basketball state, baby. It's the Clown with Cab Show. Let's go!